Okay, this is Mrs. Robertson. We are on Chapter 2, Lesson 5, page 129. We are going to talk about compare and order fractions, decimals, and percents. It starts off, the least common denominator, or LCD, is the least common multiple. Kids, we're going to probably call it least common multiple, are the words you're going to hear more than least common denominator. It's the same thing of the denominators of two or more fractions. So here, least means smallest, right? So let's just write the word smallest. Common means alike. Denominator is the bottom number of a fraction, right? And multiple is the answer when you multiply. That's what a multiple is. It's like the product. Okay, a multiple is like the product of the number. Okay, our real world link. It says, Ernest is baking, but he wants to use only one measuring cup. He needs a half a cup of sugar and 3/4 a cup of flour. What is the least common multiple of the denominators? Well, what's your least common denominator, your least common multiple between a 2 and a 4? Yeah. No, multiples are the answers. It's going to be a 4. If you had to find a common denominator, it would be a 4. What size measuring cup should he use? A half a cup, a third a cup, or a fourth of a cup? Well, he's going to have to use a fourth of a cup. All right, because for 3/4 he would fill it up 3 times, and for a half he would fill it up 2 times. A third is definitely not going to work. And a half, I'll be honest, I would take a half a cup and then just fill it up halfway for the 3/4. In all honesty, I'd use a full cup because it's got the fourths and everything. We wouldn't waste our time figuring that out that way. But okay, now let's go on to the next page, 130. Compare and order fractions. To compare, you can follow these steps. Find the least common denominator of the fractions, that is, find the least common multiple. Write an equivalent fraction, and then compare the numerators. All right, so here we have 5/8 and 7/12. All right, what's our least common denominator between 5/8 and 7/12? Well, I always look at my biggest number first. It's a 12. Will 8 divide 12? No. Then I take 12 times 2. That's 24. Will 8 divide 24? Yes. So my least common denominator is going to be 24. And here they show that. They write down 24. 8 times what's 24? 3. So 5 times 3 gives you the numerator of 15. 12 times what is 24? 2. So 7 times 2 is 14. So then we have 15 24ths and 14 24ths, and we know that it's greater than 14 24ths. So 5/8 is greater than 7/12 because 5/8 equals 15 24ths, and this one equals 14 24ths, and we know that that one's greater. Okay, kids, let's practice this. Let's go down to letter A. And between a 3 and a 9, what's our least common denominator or multiple? Okay, 9 is the largest, so will 3 divide 9? Yes, so we're going to change it to 9s. 2/3 equals how many 9s? 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. And that one's already 9s, right? So is 6/9 greater than, less than, or equal to 4/9? It's greater than. Okay. Now let's look here. We have 12 and 8. We already know what's your least common denominator between a 12 and an 8, kids? 24. So let's change them to 24s. 12 times what is 24? 2. So then you take 5 times 2, and that gives us 10. 8 times what is 24? 3. 7 times 3 is 21, and you know that 10 is smaller than 21. It's less than. Any questions? Now let's look at this one. 6 and 18. 18's our largest number. Will 6 divide 18? Yeah, so we're going to change it to 18ths. 6 times what is 18? So 1 times 3 is 3. And 3/18 is less than 5/18. Any questions on how we did that? Okay, I'll put my less than sign. Now let's look at our next example. Order the fractions from least to greatest. So we are finding our common denominator between a 2, a 14, a 4, and a 7. All right, so which one's the biggest of those four numbers? 14, right? So I'm going to put a 14. Will 2 divide 14? Yes. Will 14 divide 14? Yes. Will 4 divide 14? No. So then I have to go to the next one. What's 14 times 2? 28. Will 2 divide 28? Yes. 14? Yes. 4? Yes. 7? Yes. So it's going to be a 28. And they changed each one of those. You have 14 28s, 18, 21, and 20. So the smallest one is this, 1/2. So they put 1/2 as the smallest. Then the next one is what? 9/14. Then it's 5/7, and then 3/4 is the last. Notice how they use the original form of the number when they put them in order. Now we're going to do the same thing in letter D. Let's look at our denominators. 2, 6, 3, and 5. Which denominator is the biggest number? 6. So 2 divides 6, but 5 won't. 12, 5 won't. 5 will not. 5 will not, but 5 does divide 30, right? Will 2 divide 30? Yes. Will 3 divide 30? Yes. So it's going to be a 30. So we have 1/2 equals how many 30ths? 5/6 equals how many 30ths? 2/3 equals how many 30ths? And 3/5 equals how many 30ths? You got it, kids? So now let's go. 2 times what is 30? 15. So 1 times 15 is 15/30ths. 6 times what is 30? 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 3 times what is 30? 10. 2 times 10 is 20. 5 times what is 30? And 3 times 6 is 18. Now, which one's the smallest? 1/2. Okay, what's the next smallest? 3/5. Our next smallest? 2/3. 2/3 is smaller. And the largest? 5/6. Any questions on how to do this? All right, make sure you have everything written down. It's not that hard to do. Are we ready to go to the next page? Okay, let's go to page 131. Compare fractions, decimals, and percents. It may be easier to compare fractions, decimals, and percents when they are all written as decimals. So sometimes just change them to a decimal. 1/5 is 2/10, which is 20%. 2/5 is 4/10. 3/5 is 6/10. 4/5 is 8/10, and so on. So you can always look back at this chart, kids, and you don't have to change it to divide it to change it to a decimal. Okay, so let's look at this one. 3/4 to 7/10. Well, 3/4 is, well, they don't have that one here, but you should know. Let's just put this up here. 3/4 equals what decimal, kids? Point what? How much is 3/4? 0.75, and that would equal 75%. Okay, so 0.75 to 0.7. 0.75 is greater than 0.7, or you add a 0 to make it 0.70, and it's greater than. Okay? Now, let's look at the next problem. And they have Lucita made 85% of her free throws. Henry made 7/8 of his free throws. Who has the better average? Well, on this one, 7 divided by 8 equals 0.875. 64, subtract, bring down, or we add a 0, bring it down, it goes into it 7 times. 56, subtract, add a 0, bring it down, it goes into it 5 times. So you can divide it, you get 0.875. So whenever you move that 2 places, you get 0.875. Then we're not changing it to a percent, so we just keep it there. And you know that 0.875 is bigger than 0.850. All right, now we're not going to do all of these. We're just going to do some of these problems here, only the ones with the chart. 2/3, kids, I'm going to tell you, and it's up in the chart, is 0.6 repeating. So which is bigger, 0.6 repeating or 0.6? 0.6 repeating is larger, yes. Now, 8/11, we're not going to do this one. We're not going to take time to divide that. 1/5, we can look up here at our chart, is 0.2. So, what's this one going to be? 2/10 is equal to 2/10. Okay, now, to change your percent to a decimal, that equals 0.42. You just move it 2 places to the left. 42 hundredths is less than 44 hundredths, right? 7% is 0.07. 0.07, 7/10 is 0.7. Which one's smaller? They're not equal. 70 hundredths is bigger than 7 hundredths. So little point goes to this one because the 7/10 is bigger than 7 hundredths. Okay. This one, move it 2 places to the left. It is equal to. Any questions? All right, let's look on page 132. Here it says order the numbers from least to greatest. Express each number as a decimal with the same number of places. Okay, so we fill empty spots with zeros. All right, 5/8, when you divide 5 by 8, you get 0.625. 5/10, we just added 2 more zeros. And 58.3% equals 0.583. So then you put them on the number line. 500 thousandths is here. 583 thousandths is there. And 625 thousandths is there. And then they're all in order. Okay, let's do letter K. Hiroshi found that 3/5 of his class prefers vanilla ice cream. Okay, 3/5 equals what over 100? I'm just going to change them to percents. 60 over 100, so 60%. 26% prefer chocolate and 14 hundredths prefer strawberry. Which kind of ice cream do students prefer the least? Okay, so we have 60% vanilla, 26% chocolate, and this will be 14% strawberry. So it's going to be strawberry. All right, now on the guided practice, let's look at these problems. Order them from least to greatest. On this one, let's change it to our least common denominator. LCD, least common denominator. Between a 10, a 5, a 2, and a 4, it's going to be a what? What's it going to be? No, 4 won't divide 10. So what's 10 times 2? 20. So 4/5 equals what over 20? 16/20. 1/2, you know, that equals 10 over 20, right? 9/10 equals 18 over 20. And 3/4 equals what over 20? 15. So, and that's 10. Least is 1/2. So it's going to be 1/2. Then it's what? 3/4. Then it's 4/5. And the biggest is 9/10. See how we did that? Not that hard. Now in number 2, Cora spends 2/3 of her free time blogging on the internet. Leah spends 60% of her free time blogging on the internet. Who spends more time? 2/3. If you go back to the chart, 2/3, oh, right there it is. 0.6, which is 66.6%. So I'm going to go back here. That's 66.6%. That is larger than 60%. So who spends more time? Cora. Okay, because Cora spends that. Now, number 3. The table shows the wins for some middle school football teams. Which team has the greatest fraction of wins? Okay, so we have 9/10, 89 over 100. So that'll be 90 over 100. And that's 95 over 100. Which one's the biggest? Yes, Eagles. Okay, now let's see. What are we going to do for homework tonight? I think all we're going to do is on page 133, do 1 to 7. That'll be it. Page 133, 1 to 7. Or 1 to 7. 1 to 8's not bad either, so do 1 to 7 since I wrote that down. Any questions? Let me double check to make sure there's not a house problem on the next page. Oh, we do have to do, I'm sorry, number 11. It's a house problem. So on the next page, 11. So 1 to 7 and number 11. Oh, we rhyme. Right in time. All right. So I'm going to write page 134, do number 11. Okay, kids, let's get going on that.